Hello there, Thunder Wizards. This is Mahadeva, the OG Thunder Wizard. All right, so how do you like the title there? So, what exactly is the title that I put up there? I put Jehovah is Satan, Odin is Loki. Odin gives freedom, Jehovah judges you. This, by the way, is live. This is a live Q&A. For me, it's Saturday, May 2nd. For you guys, it's going to be Friday night, May 1st. And so, this is an actual live. This is not a rebroadcast. In case you're watching the rebroadcasts and they disappear, I've deduced that what happens is if I stream something for 12 hours or more, then YouTube automatically just doesn't archive it, which is fine with me, because if I've got a live stream that goes for 12 hours, it means that I've compiled a bunch of videos from a couple or a few years ago. So all of those videos are still on the channel. If you put the time and effort and look for them, you can find them. But I'll keep that in mind anyway. So, Odin. What's the difference between Odin and Jehovah? What's the difference between Satan and Loki? You can see the picture here. We've got right over there. Am I going in the right? I can't see myself. Yeah, there. That's what's really going on. That's the real deal here. They're not. They want you to think they're doing this, that they're fighting each other. They're not fighting each other. They are totally making out at your expense. They're laughing. They laugh at you. So one of the things I thought about, which I think is very pertinent here, is if we look at it from an astrological perspective, Odin is a mercurial vibration of the highest energy of Shiva. Both Shiva and Odin share the same name in the exact same word in the Indo-European language, which is fearsome, frightening, and that is in Vedic. One of the names for Shiva is Ugra. Sorry, I put a little bit of a Germanic accent in there. Ugra. In the Old Norse, his name is Ygg. So Odin is Ygg, frightening, terrifying. Our word ugly, Ygliche, ugg-like, really. And we use the word ugg. We go ugg. When something is ugly, we go ugg. Ygg. But it used to mean terrifying. So Odin and Shiva share this same epithet of terrifying, and it's terrifying to us only because we're attached to our limitations. When we view the highest energy of consciousness that has no limitations, it seems crazed and fierce, and it's very frightening. So that's why Odin is Ygg and Shiva is Ugra. But when we're talking about Jehovah and Satan, we're not talking about the planet Mercury. We're talking about Saturn. But we're not just talking about the planet Saturn. We're talking about the debilitated Saturn. So from an astrological perspective, any planet, if it's happy, works for you, even the so-called negative planets. And any planet, even if it's a good planet, if it's in a bad position, it ends up causing you problems. So an example for me, I've got Mars, which is a bad planet, and I've got Saturn, which is a really bad planet. And they happen to be in houses that they like being in. Saturn is in his own sign and is retrograde, and they're staring at each other. So Saturn and Mars are staring at each other in my chart from their positions of power. What that ends up doing for me is that as a kid, I went through just no shortage of problems, and I just got picked on and bullied, and just nothing but challenges. Seriously, my whole childhood. That's why one of the reasons I have no empathy for victims, because I may not have had your problems, but I can guarantee you a lot of you guys may not have survived my problems, and my life is great. So if I can pull it off and take full responsibility for my life, so can you. So that's why when you sit around and complain, I have no empathy for you. But so that is an example of when Saturn can work for you well. But when Saturn is debilitated, then Saturn is the judge. Saturn gives disease. Saturn gives poverty. Saturn gives enemies, illness. So what do we have with Jehovah and Satan over here? What we have going on is the two aspects of Saturn, or the shadow side and the light side of Saturn when they're debilitated. Saturn is already a dark planet. So that's why even when Saturn works for you, it works for you through challenges. So the challenges, like you'll go through challenges, but as the result of that challenge, you'll end up, becoming a king or millionaire or something like that. But when Saturn is debilitated, Saturn has it in for you. And so when Saturn is debilitated, then you have the judge that acts like the highest God, which is Jehovah. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Saturn is restriction. Saturn is keeps things in place. It slows things down. It stops things. And so that is what Jehovah. What does Jehovah do? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Everything, if you were a Christian, or if you were in one of the offshoot Christian religions, then you're very familiar with not having the right to take pride in anything that you do. You have to give God all the glory. God did it. God, you're the one that busted your ass, but you have to give Jehovah all the glory. And you're not allowed to enjoy anything or take any pride in anything that you do. And your whole life has to, even from the Christian perspective, from the Abrahamic perspective, Jehovah created the universe for his pleasure. He created you for his pleasure, and for some reason that you had nothing to do with, he can't stand you. He's not taking pleasure in you, so he's going to throw you in hell forever. Again, if you're new to the channel, I've said it over and over, but I'm not making this up. This isn't just my twist on Jehovah. This is Jehovah. Jehovah makes it really clear. He wants you perfect. You're not perfect. Again, why? He's perfect. He created you. But for some reason, he didn't have the ability to create you perfectly. And he gives you free will and then punishes you for using it. You just can't win with the guy. And that's Saturn. Saturn is restriction, it is judgment, it is perfection. When Saturn is not in a good place and you have this in your chart, you will be a perfectionist either on other people or on yourself. Like, let's say you have Saturn sitting in your 7th house, staring at your 1st house. Your 1st house is your body, yourself, your identity. When people have Saturn sitting in the 7th house, what ends up happening lots of times is they become really focused on judging their body, like their body never is good enough. They have body issues, and they judge themselves, and they're harsh with themselves, and nothing they ever do is good enough. That's when Saturn is sitting staring at you. So this is Jehovah. So what is Satan? Satan is judgment also. Now, we contrast this with Odin and Loki. What is Odin? Well, Odin is fearsome. He is a fearsome God, and he's fearsome to us because of our limitations, but he is all about freedom. Total, utter, complete freedom and mastery of the self. And he has a strong vibration with Mercury, which is innovation, which is knowledge, which is awareness, which is curiosity, research, study. So Odin is curious. He's voraciously curious. That's why he travels to all of the 9 worlds. He's the only God that can do that, because he's so voraciously curious about everything in the universe. And what is Loki? Loki is the trickster. Well, in order to be the trickster, you got to have the same kind of, Mercury aspect. You got to look for the humor in things. And yeah, you play tricks on people, but at the very least, it's humorous. And also, he does it so that you'll wake up. He's the one that will give you all the secrets to the universe if you're willing to not take yourself too seriously. I've shared this story. I'll share it again. When I was in Idaho, I had a friend who was a neo-heathen. And we were talking one day about Loki and how she was saying, I'm not a neo-heathen, so I don't know anything about their world, but apparently there's a whole community of neo-heathens that see Loki as the devil. And so there was a certain group of heathens at this park in Boise, Idaho, where I lived, and they were part of one of these groups that you're not supposed to even say Loki's name. And they were all standing in a circle talking, and one of them said, "Oh, what the hell, Loki!" And from out of the forest comes a skunk, and the skunk goes and stands in the middle of them and then sprays them all, and then runs back into the forest. And they used that. They said, "You see, you can't mention him. He's evil. He's bad." And it just, he's the trickster, man. He's you're the ones that have this judgment about him, and you think he's evil and all that, and you're not, and you've made the vow you're not supposed to say his name, and so you do. And so he comes out and he's, all he does is he sprays you with some stink and runs away. He's nothing evil. He didn't eat any babies or, curse anybody or anything like that. He just made fun of you because you're full of yourself. That's Loki. That's how Loki works when he's in his, trickster, the negative side. But when Loki is working for you, he will show you the secrets of the universe. And you've got to laugh. If you're not willing to laugh at yourself, then you're going to get all stinky. So we've got Odin and Loki have this mercurial aspect to them, which gives them humor. I mean, my experience of Odin is that Odin always has a smirk on his face. He's got this shit-eating grin on his face. My experience of him. And Loki is actually Loki is actually really, really gentle and sweet and loving. He really is. I mean, he really cares about human beings. That's my experience of Odin and Loki. What about the devil? Well, there's nothing, literally nothing redeemable about the devil, as he is presented in the Abrahamic tradition. He is pure evil. He wants nothing but to devour and destroy and torture. He takes pleasure, he's narcissistic and psychopathic. And, the Exorcist, all that. I mean, he's just horrible. And the thing, when you talk to a Satanist will actually, they don't really talk about the Abrahamic devil. They talk about somebody who fights for your freedom. And so, most of the Satanists really aren't worshiping the Satan of Abrahamic tradition. And, you can see the look on my face about it because, the only way that you can believe in the devil is if you believe in Jehovah. It's the whole point. You can't have one without the other. And so, the whole idea of rebelling against Jehovah by worshiping Satan is like worshiping Jehovah. Because you strengthen the whole idea of, even if you see Jehovah as the bad guy and Satan is, you know, look at this picture. I find this interesting because as a ex born again Christian myself, this is how we saw it. We saw that it was this dualistic battle between good and evil. And even though in the Bible, or in the New Testament, they talk about how God is all powerful and Satan is limited and Satan will be destroyed and all that, but the truth is that go talk to a Christian. They are so absolutely terrified of Satan, and they believe that Satan can get you. God loves you so much, he can't protect you from Satan. Satan, if he gets a hold of you, he's going to take you to hell and he's going to eat your soul. And, they really do treat him as an equal to Jehovah, even though they'll tell you something totally different. But, trust me, in their mind and in their heart, they really believe that the devil is his equal. I'll tell you a funny story. There was, he's probably still around, but I remember in college back in the 80s, God, I'm old. Back in the 1980s, I was in college, in university. And my friend and I, there was another friend, and we were both ex-Christians, just had gotten out of it. I had only been out of it for a few years, but I was adamantly against it. And there was a televangelist. I'm trying to remember his name. If I can remember his name, I will. But he was a really, he's funny. Really, I mean, he doesn't try to be funny. He's just ridiculous. And yes, and he believes, I guess, that he speaks, that he's a prophet. He goes, and yes, the Lord doth say to you, and he does all that. And he's all about, if you give him money, God will heal you. And, and if you give him, you give him like a vow of faith, like $10,000, then you'll get rich. And then he gives you like these little prayer cloths that he's prayed over, and that'll heal you and all that kind of, all that kind of garbage. And he was on, and he was having live telecast, and so that they had these phone banks, and you would call, right? So there's the number on the screen. Call the number, and we would call them up and say, quote lines from The Exorcist. Your mother sucks cocks in hell, and you'd hear people on the other end go, because they're praying in tongues. Because they're so afraid of somebody joking around saying the name Satan or talking in a strange voice. I think some of them actually thought Satan was on the other end of the line. But that's how Christians really see Satan. They really see him that way. And if you think about it, how different is Jehovah? How different is he than Satan? When you're born, he hates you. You're born in sin. You are blamed for the sin of the first two. I mean, it wasn't even like the 10th or the 11th or the 12th or the 50th or the 100th person that screwed up. It was the very first humans. I mean, Jehovah screws up from the beginning. The very first two humans he makes, he screws it up, and he has to damn them to hell because he puts them in the Garden of Eden. He tells them, you can eat of any fruit in the forest except for that one. Why? What is that one over there? Oh, that's the fruit of knowledge. Well, why can't we eat it? Well, because if you eat it, then you'll be like me, and I don't want that, so just don't eat it. Well, which one? The one right over there. We can't eat that one? No, you can't, because then we'll be like God. Right, don't eat that one, but you can eat any of the others. All right, I'm going to go hide behind that tree over there, but don't eat that. And then they eat it, and then he kicks them out of, why? Because they wanted to know. They wanted to know what God was about. I mean, the guy's just horrible. There's just nothing good about him. And then he gets together with Moses. He finds Moses. And Moses, a burning bush, whatever the hell that means. Is he some kind of... is he some kind of STD? What the hell is a burning bush? What is that? So he's a burning bush, and he tells Moses, "I am that I am." What is that? I am that I am. Now he doesn't say I am you, or I am everything, or everything is me, or everybody is me. He says I am that I am. What is that? That is narcissism. So the God of narcissism appears to Moses and says, if you love me, I will bless you. And I'll give you all of these good things if you love me. And if you love me, you will follow all of my commandments to the letter. Now, if you do not follow all of my commandments to the letter, then you hate me. And if you hate me, I hate you. And if you hate me, I'm going to do this to you, and not just you, but for generations down to the X amount, I'm going to boils and, I mean, you should read it. It's horrible. This is Jehovah. There's just nothing redeemable about the guy. He's a psychopathic, narcissistic, murderous nutcase. He's incompetent. You know, this is the thing about narcissists. You'll find this. Narcissists, pick your narcissist. Those of you pick your favorite politician who you believe is a narcissist, and what you'll find is that they talk about how great they are until something goes wrong, and then it's somebody else's fault. And they did it to me, and I know I was just being sarcastic. They're incompetent. Jehovah's incompetent. I mean, he can't even create humans right. You know, he can't. And here's the thing: talk about projection. I tell you, everything is projection, right? Everything you see. If you find something wrong in somebody else, you're projecting something within you on them. If you hate somebody else, if you're afraid of somebody else, you know, this is like racism. Racism is absolutely projection. Whatever racists say about other races, that's how they feel about themselves on an unconscious level. They're not conscious of it, but that's how they feel about themselves, so they project it on, you know, something that they can, you know, project all of their self-hatred onto. Right? What is Jehovah? I mean, that's just Jehovah. Jehovah is narcissistic self-hatred. And narcissists are incompetent. They're insecure. You know, think about it. There's just nothing good about the guy. So, point I'm trying to make, and then, you know, what is the devil really? Devil is really no different. The devil is narcissistic. He's full of himself. He hates humans. He wants to destroy them. He wants to take them captive, and he wants to just torture them and eat them and devour them and, you know, make their life miserable, not just for a little bit, for eternity. That's the other thing about Jehovah. He doesn't throw you in hell, you know, to punish you for 5 or 10 years or 100 years or 1,000 or 1,000,000 years. He puts you there forever for any infraction. Any. All it takes is one tiny infraction of his rules, and you are doomed for eternity. You know, Catholics made up purgatory. That's not part of the Bible. There's no such thing as purgatory in the Old or New Testament. It doesn't exist. Catholics made it up because even they couldn't tolerate the idea of, well, I mean, he's not going to throw people in hell for eternity. I mean, who does that, right? No, that's you know, the one thing that you know, I have to say that born again fundamentalists got right is they said, let's get back to what the Bible really says, and let's treat it like the Word of God. And they did that. And I am in full agreement with them about one thing, which is you're either going to take the Bible as the inerrant, perfect Word of God, or you're going to take none of it. I am in full agreement with them, so that's why I take none of it. It's garbage. So, point is that Saturn, that when Saturn is debilitated, these are the two sides of Saturn debilitated, the judge and the accuser. It's the same thing, just like right there, you know, God and Satan, they're just making out with each other right in front of you, completely at your expense. Odin and Loki, they're laughing the whole way through, and their job is to liberate you. They are here to bring you liberation and help you empower yourself. So this is the difference between Odin and Loki. Loki is the blood brother of Odin, according to Norse mythology. Loki and Odin, both, there's a discussion in the mythology where they discuss that. And I'm saying that Jehovah and Satan are same thing, just the Saturn aspects of it. All right, so that's my rant on that for today. Let's see if we have any questions. Again, this is a question and answer. I haven't been really following, you know, the rules lately because I've changed things up doing all of these live I mean, these, rebroadcast, pre-recorded rebroadcast. But let's see what's going on here. All right, so the way to get my attention, if you want me to interact with you, is to ask a question. Nothing personal, but I could care less what your opinion is, whether you like me or hate me. I'd really just rather talk to people who have a question, make use of your time. But whatever, you're going to do whatever you're going to do. Monsters, myth, and mystery. Question. Oh, and if you want to ask a question, write the word question. And that's why? So that I won't miss it. Because I miss people's questions all the time because of all the talking and everything. So if you write question in all caps, there's a good chance I'll see it. Question. How do Mars and Pluto affect someone with them in their astrology? So, two things you need to know is that I am a Vedic astrologer. More than likely, you are talking about Western astrology. Western astrology is off by 24 degrees, which means that there's a good chance that wherever you think your Mars and Pluto is in your chart, they might not be in those places. You might not even be the sign that you think you are. So if you're asking me because you're looking at your Western chart, wouldn't matter what I tell you because it's not going to be the same. Vedic astrology does not deal with Pluto, Neptune. What's the other one? They don't deal with the outer planets because those planets are generational. So, if you were born in I don't know what the period is, 10 years or 20 years or something like that, everybody has Pluto in the same spot, pretty much. So they don't deal with that. The other thing is that the number 9 is sacred. So we deal with the 9 aspects of the 9 visible planets. So asking me about Pluto, I can't tell you to get to the nitty gritty of it. How do Mars and Pluto? I mean, that is such a broad question. I'd have to look at your chart. If you want me to look at your chart, you can go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. Get yourself an astrology reading. If you want to learn my Vedic astrology, go to lockdown.thunderwizard.com. Get $3,214. I'm not kidding. $3,214 worth of services for free. The only thing you pay for are 5 services that you have to talk to me on Skype with. I charge you for my time, but I give you $3,214 worth of stuff if you bought it normally. I give it to you for free. And one of them is Vedic astrology certification. You can learn all about Vedic astrology, at least my style of it. So, what else here? So, Mariah, if you write a question, I'll read it. I'm not going to deal with that unless you got an honest question. Now you guys are fighting with each other. Come on, guys. You're wasting my time. You see that? Now I got to scroll through you bitching at each other. It's a waste of everybody else's time. It's not your fault. This is how these things normally go. All right, Mariah, I'm this close to just muting you because you can't seem to stop talking, and it's hard for me to help others when you're talking over everybody. Alekia Patria, for some reason your question got muted. I wonder why that is. I just looked at a couple of words and I'm already wincing. Alekia. Gosh, my friend. Okay, let's see. How to get confidence to go somewhere important for an interview when I have a big pimple, black spots on my face. Man, what are you asking me that for? Go talk to a skin doctor, man. I mean, is there any part of what I say that says that I am a skin doctor? Come on, man. Ask a real question. Don't waste everybody's time with that. Jesus. Awesome opossum. You said something derogatory against another religion. And thankfully, YouTube hid your comment. Simply because you said that, I'm blocking you. You're never going to be able to comment on my channel ever again. So you can watch, but that kind of idiocy doesn't belong on my channel. So see you later. All right, so All right, I'm this close, Mariah, this close. All right, guys. Yeah, again, no questions. Questions, please. Ricky Green, question. I've read 2 of your books. Do you believe that the gods are merely archetypes, or can we actually connect with them? Well, you have an assumption in there. Your assumption is that archetypes cannot be connected with. Ricky Green, my suggestion for you is to research the only unbroken Indo-European religion on the planet, and that is Hinduism. And our ancestors, if you're talking about the Germanic gods, the Germanic gods are the same gods as the Vedic gods. And if you read my books, you've probably seen that. If you go to India and you talk to your average Hindu, now there are all different kinds, there's so many different kinds of Hindus, I'm generalizing like crazy here, but if you ask the average Hindu and you say to them, is Ganesha the one and only God? They'll say, oh yes, Ganesha is the one and only God. Is Ganesha an archetype? Yes, Ganesha is an archetype. Is Ganesha real? Oh yes, Ganesha is very real. Is Ganesha just a symbol? Yes, that's right. Ganesha is just a symbol. Is Ganesha just an offshoot of the other deities? Yes, that's absolutely right. Is there a source behind all the deities? Yes. So the deities aren't real? Yeah, that's right. They're just emanations of the one source. Is the one source really all that you need, or can you go directly to the deities? Oh, you can go directly. You can have them appear in front of you. You won't be able to nail him down. You're asking a two-dimensional question. You know why? Because you're a Westerner and you have been programmed by dualist, monotheist Christianity to think in those terms. And you're doing yourself a disservice. Stop trying to figure it out. Who gives a crap if they're archetypes? Who gives a crap if they're real? The point is worshiping them going to benefit your life? Whether or not they're an archetype is meaningless. So I want you to destroy that assumption in your mind that an archetype means that it's not a real energy. Read my books. You said you read my books? Keep reading them. As you've noticed, I haven't answered your question because it doesn't serve you. Your question is a Christian. That's the kind of question a Christian asks. You know why? I'll tell you. Because the only religious text in existence that believes in the literal historical stories that they write about is Abrahamic monotheism. The first time in history that you have a religious text talking about, some deity, some divinity interacting with humans, and it is presented as literal history, is the Old Testament. There never was, never. There was never children of Israel who were trapped in Egypt, taken hostage and enslaved. The children of Israel are none other than the Canaanites. And who is it that Moses and Joshua go and fight? They go fight the Canaanites. But the Hebrews, the Jews, actually are the descendants of the Canaanites. So the whole story of the Old Testament that is given to you as literal historical, like a historical document, was completely made up for somebody to destroy their own ethnic and spiritual heritage. That's where your question comes from, because when you fight another religion from monotheism, from literal monotheism, from Christianity that says Jesus actually existed and he died on AD 33 and his name was Jesus of Nazareth. Nazareth, by the way, never existed when Jesus was supposedly alive. And so when they go up to a Hindu and they say, so if your gods are just symbols, how can you really talk to them? They're not real. That's the question you just asked, Ricky Green. You just asked the question that a Christian would ask. That's not your fault. You've been born in this society. The vast majority of neo-heathens are, born-again Christians who are trying to paste the Norse gods onto monotheist dualism. That's why Loki is seen as the devil. That's why they don't understand the myths. That's why they don't understand the mythology in it. That's not their fault. So, I gave you a hard time, but I'm not going to answer your question because you're not understanding the assumption that's driving your question. So get rid of that and then learn how to interact with the gods of our ancestors the way our ancestors did, which is going to be the same mindset that all polytheists have. The African polytheists, the Taoist polytheists, the Hindu polytheists. Go and try and grab onto their mindset about how they see the gods in the universe, and then you'll know how our ancestors views the gods, and they never would ask that question. It would never even enter their mind. All right? Let's see. Erica Gilvin question. I like numerology. Is there numerology in the Vedic tradition? Yes, there is, but I don't know anything about it. Thundra Staves Rangel question. If Saturn has Digbala in the 7th house, why does it create such a negative effect on the self? Wow. Because Saturn's a motherfucker. I don't know what else to tell you. Saturn is harshness. I mean, the thing about Saturn is that if Saturn is going to work for you, it's going to work for you through negative means. Like Saturn, now that I'm 56, I just went surfing today out there, and the waves were pretty good sized. And I was out there paddling. I was out there for a good 2 hours, a serious workout. And I'm so grateful that at 56, I'm able to do it. I'm able to be out there with the young guys and keep up with them. And I'm still able to go to the gym and lift more than I ever have. That is because I've got Saturn retrograde in the 6th house with Mars in the 3rd house staring at it. And so these two really negative planets, now that I'm 56, are working to keep me healthy. But I had to go through, 45, 50 years of hell when Saturn and Mars were beating the crap out of me. So Saturn and Mars and Rahu, Ketu, when they give good, it's because it's going to come from challenge. The opposite is true with positive planets. If you've got Jupiter working for you and Jupiter's healthy and happy, then just all these happy, good things come to you. Money and happy, kids and prosperity and all this good stuff. But if Jupiter, like with me, if you got Jupiter in a not great place, or in a place where its shadow side comes out, then good things that you get end up causing you misery. And so that's why. This is how you have to understand the planets. People want to worship Rahu and have Rahu give them all kinds of good things. Rahu can do that, but it's going to be as a result of losing something. You lose something and you gain from that. Okay? I hope I answered your question. What else? Oh, Lauren, question. What is the purpose of Maypole? I don't know. Ricky Green, I was a Southern Baptist minister before finding this path. Yeah, so was I. I went to a Baptist church and went to Biola University, and I was an exorcist, and I was an evangelist. I used to evangelize on the street. I did all that stuff, and I was good at it too. Intellectual Wanderer question. Out of the 9 planets, Rahu and Ketu are not actually planets. So how can Rahu and Ketu be seen? Your name is well placed on you, Intellectual Wanderer. Let me just ask you, is that really an honest question, or are you just being an intellectual pain in the ass? Are you just being a nitpicker? Rahu and Ketu are the north and south nodes of a planet that is visible, which is the moon. So please forgive me. The 7 visible planets and the invisible nodes. Do you feel better now? Will you help us? Please write the word question so I know you're asking a question. Is that Greek? If I lose he there, don't know what that is. Will you help us understand the connection between the names of the primordial gods and the planets, stars? Well, okay, I'll give you one. So the planet Venus, we pronounce it Venus. The Latins pronounced it Venus. Now the last part, the suffix, the US, is a case ending. We don't have case endings anymore. So if you take the case ending off, then the root of the word for the planet Venus is Wain. Now, in the Norse tradition, you have the gods of fertility. Guess what they're called? The Wains. There you go. You can't do that with all the planets. You can't do that with all the planets. Primordial gods in which tradition? You know, there's all kinds of primordial gods and there's all kinds of traditions. So when you start playing around with language, then, you know. Here's another one. The god of war in the Norse tradition, which really isn't a god of war, and I don't have time to get into it. He was originally the king of the gods. His name is Tyr. In the Old English, it's Tiu. Tiwaj. So in the Germanic, the nominative case ending for masculine word is az. Tiwaj. Take that same root of tiu and you put it into the Vedic tradition, it's dieus. So that's the nominative there. You put it into the Roman, it's diu piter. You put it into the Greek, it's Zeus. It's the same root. So if you want to use the planet Jupiter, for example, you can. That, again, if you read my books, I talk about that kind of stuff all the time. Stormageddon, dark lord of all. Does that mean you're the lord of me too? Hail Stormageddon, lord of all. Question, do you plan continuing the Naga conspiracy series anytime soon? I would like to do that. Here's the problem. It doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't get nearly the views that I need in order for it to justify me putting. I mean, you can look at it. It takes a lot of work doing those things. It's a lot of time and effort. So I got to pay the bills. So I got to make videos that end up paying my bills, and that one doesn't. Interestingly enough, if you watch the interview with Freedom Cole that I just did, everybody listening to me should watch that. He's a Vedic astrology master. He's also a Vedic scholar, an incredible knowledge. You should listen to that. So he talks about, I asked him about the concept of the Aruda Lagna. My Aruda Lagna, the Aruda Lagna is not how you see yourself, it's how the world sees you. It is the costume that you have to wear in order to be successful. Lots of times it's completely different from your actual personality, but it's your costume, it's your superpower. You know, you got Clark Kent and then you got Superman. Clark Kent would be like, his personality, but Superman is his costume, his Aruda. So my Aruda is the spiritual warrior. And so when I operate from the spiritual warrior, that's when the universe and people respond well to me and give me money and success in my career. Now, there's an Aruda for the career, the Aruda for the 10th house. And that will tell you how people talk about your career. Not, they'll see, oh, he's that spiritual warrior, and then they'll talk about it. Mine is Saturn in the 6th house, which means fighting enemies. So if you want to go look at the views on my videos. The ones where I'm fighting, the ones where I get in arguments with people, that's the ones that get the most views. And he says that people will attack my integrity and will attack my reputation, which is absolutely the case. When I give out some of these really great things, what ends up happening is some idiot comes on here and has to tell me how I don't know what I'm talking about or whatever, whatever. So you guys come for the show. You want to see me duke it out with somebody. When I do the Naga conspiracy, I think I agree with you. I think it's one of the most profound teachings around, and I'm the one that did it. But nobody gives a shit about it. So the answer to that question is, if I ever get to the place where my channel just pays for itself and I don't have to work, like I don't have to get on the phone and talk to people every day and do readings and that kind of stuff, then I'll do it. Until then, I got to make money. I got to pay the bills. Also, what role does Abrahamism play in the Naga conspiracy? It doesn't. As Abrahamic religion plays zero part in the Naga conspiracy. Let's see what else. So Thundra's question got hidden. Why is that? She said something that they didn't like. Oh, because she cussed. Well, let's take her out of the penalty box here. Whoops, that's not what I want to do. Show. So she says, question. So if Saturn is Dharma Devata, should you just accept all good things are going to come through the shittiest things ever? If Saturn is Dharma Devata, so Dharma Devata, again, a planet can be Dharma Devata and can be in a good place or in a bad place, So if Saturn is your Dharma Devata, what it means, the only thing you need to take from that is that you are going to have to work. You're going to have to work off karma to become conscious. So the Dharma Devata is the planet that will bring you to consciousness, meaning you'll become fully aware of all of the aspects of yourself, positive and negative. So Saturn is all about that. Saturn sits on you and makes your life miserable until you go, okay, what's the lesson? What am I supposed to learn? And then you start to learn and you start to grow. So that's all you need to take about that. Dharma Devata, I don't look at that as, it's your Dharma Devata. It's there to give you money or give you prosperity or anything like that. The Dharma Devata is it's there to help you find your path and become conscious, which ultimately, of course, will end up blessing you. But yeah, if Saturn is your Dharma Devata, it means that Saturn blesses you when you work through your karma. And we've worked together, Thundra. What is it that I've been telling you to do? All I've done is given you a bunch of really hard shit to work through. Because, that's just what Saturn is doing. So I hope that answered your question there. Joan Holland, I didn't say Loyola. I said Biola. Two most important things in life: listen, pay attention, and put effort. So listen. I didn't say Loyola. I said Biola. Baron Belarus, question. I read that Chinnamasta is the Shakti of Indra. Is that accurate? Chinnamasta, well, the Shakti of Indra, Indra could have multiple Shaktis. But the Shakti of Indra is Indrani. 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 Chinnamasta is Rahu. So Chinnamasta is the Shakti of the the north node of the moon. So Indra is Jupiter. So right off the bat, I'm going to say no. So I don't know where you heard that. Maybe some Vedic, astrology scholar can explain to me why that is. Just based on what I know, I think that may be inaccurate. But I could be wrong. Thundra, question. In the thunder wheel, Venus is in the southeast direction. Why is Wayne's home in the west? Well, because the lord of the Wains is Saturn, Njord. Now, in Vedic astrology, as you know, you have the more of the Aesir planets, the Devi planets, and then you have the Asura planets. And the Aesir planets would be Sun, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, right? So the teacher of the gods is Jupiter. So the lord of the other planets. So the other planets is Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, Venus, and I think Mercury. These are all the Asura planets, which mean, lower vibrational, more Earth, more. So like, the general direction of that is west. That's why Saturn sits in the west, because they're on that side. So I know it can be confusing. Sticky. Okay, let's see. Ooh, this first he doesn't ask a question. He says, "You know what? I demand a answer." So it's an answer, an, and then answer, just to be. I don't know how long I'm going to tolerate this guy. We'll see. Who is this guy, and why should I care about what he has to say? I'm nobody, and you shouldn't fucking care at all. So go somewhere else. And this guy gets to be hidden on channel 2. Bye-bye. Okay, let's see. What else? Boy, he wrote a lot of stuff. I only got the first one. Thank God I got rid of him. Why is Jupiter not Saturn and Saturn not Jupiter? Did you really think that question through? Please write the word question so I know you're asking a question. Is there, T-H-E-I-R? I think you want to say is there, T-H-E-R-E? Is there a significance for the order of what? 2 things. Pay attention and put effort. If you're going to write a question, write a whole question. Put a subject, a verb, an object. I have no idea what that means. How am I supposed to know what you're talking about? Does your question matter to you? Then put the effort into making sure I understand it so I can answer it. Lazy, goddamn kids these days with their phones and all right. Neolia 23 asks, kind of at the same time, asks a really smart and a really stupid question all at the same time. Why is Jehovah God in the Old Testament and in the New is Jesus? Well, that's not exactly how it works. God is still God in the New Testament. Jesus has a father. That father is Jehovah. So Jehovah is God in both the Old and New Testaments. So you kind of got it off there. But at the same time, you ask a pretty good question, because Christianity claims to be a monotheist religion, and yet they have 3 gods. And Jesus is the son of the Father, and yet Jesus is God at the same time. And it's because in the European tradition, as is in every other polytheist tradition, there is a Trinity. There is, in the Norse tradition, it's Odin, Vili, and Ve. In the Vedic tradition, it's Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. In the Taoist traditions, it's the 3 ones. And so when Europeans were adopting monotheist Abrahamic religion in the form of Christianity, they created a doctrine of the Trinity: God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. They were following the rules of the Old Testament, which says there's only one God. And yet at the same time, they could not escape their own heritage of having to see 3, a Trinity that's sort of ruling over everything. So that's why, to answer your question. Jeremy Victus. He doesn't bother to answer the question. He just throws in the planets. So why is there a significance for the order of the planets? Again, I don't know what the hell you're asking. What do you mean? What significance of what order? According to whom? About what? What order are we talking about? Put some time and effort in thinking about your question. Write it out so I can understand it. I'm giving you a hard time, but if you want to get anywhere in life, you got to put effort into it. I still don't know what the fuck you're asking me. And it makes me wonder if you even know what you're asking. Welcome to my channel, by the way. I demand that my students put effort into things, that they think critically, that they use their minds and their brains so that they can benefit from their questions. When their questions are too general like that, there's nothing that can be said. What's the meaning of life? Anyway, what else? Question, how to find your interview with Freedom Cole. Alekia! I just recently did it. Do you not know how to find somebody's YouTube channel? Go on to YouTube and type up in the top, type in Thunder Wizard. You'll see my channel page. Go click on my channel page. It'll show you my videos. Scroll through them. I just did it recently. You'll find it. Pay attention and put effort. All right, that's not a question. Okay. Yeah, Jeremy, man, you're bugging the crap out of me. It's so irrelevant. What's irrelevant? The order of the planets are irrelevant? To what? You don't even know what that word means, irrelevant. Relevant means it has to be relevant to something. Sorry, just annoys me. It annoys me. I'll tell you what, this is, I recently made a video and I was angry. And I get angry when people choose to not give a shit. I get angry when people choose to be ignorant. Willful ignorance. People are proud, that fuck this and fuck that, and who cares about that, and I don't care about this, and that willful ignorance, choosing not to care and choosing not to know, bugs the crap out of me. Of course, I sound like an old man because that's how my grandparents talked about kids these days. What are you talking about, man? I don't even know. Again, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. Anyway, I don't see any more questions here. So, I just got back from surfing. I'm tired as hell. I'm going to have to finish eating and take a nap and get a massage later and all that good stuff. So, what can I say to you guys? Again, let me tell you how to get the most out of my channel. To get the most out of my channel, do what I suggested to Alekia, which is to go onto YouTube, type in Thunder Wizard, get to my YouTube channel page. When you get that, scroll down to the menu. It says thunderwizard.com, and there's a menu there. Now, I don't know what it is on every device, but on a laptop or a desktop, right next to where it says About, on the lower menu, there's a magnifying glass. Click that magnifying glass and put in any word or phrase that you want. Search my channel. I'm really grateful that I can do these 24-hour, streamings where I take old question and answer videos and string them together and play them. But I wouldn't be able to do that if people actually watched my channel. If people actually put the time and effort into watching the videos, the older videos, instead of just being a sheep and letting YouTube tell you to do this and to do that and just following whatever the hell. That's why Alekia doesn't know how to find videos on my channel, because YouTube is trying to turn you into just a mindless sheep where you just go to the whatever and you just follow the glitter, follow the little glittery toy. The best way to get things out of my channel is to put the time into effort to watch my videos, watch my channel. Go to courses.thunderwizard.com, get my books, read my books. Go to lockdown.thunderwizard.com. As I said earlier, I'm giving away all of my streaming courses for free. $3,214 worth of stuff for free. The only thing that you're paying for is 5 services that I give where you get to talk to me over Skype. So you're paying for my time, but other than that, you're getting $3,214 worth of stuff for free. Go to thunderwizard.com. That is the subscription channel if you want to really get the in-depth stuff that I don't have time to talk about, like in-depth, like we started to talk about the names of the gods and things like that. If you want to hear me really break down shamanism, break down runes, break down qigong, break down other things, like there's the whole manifestation mastery course. You know, you want to create your own life, you want to know why the law of attraction doesn't work and what the law of manifestation is, you can subscribe to that. So those are all the things available to me. Of course, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell button. That's it. If there's any more questions, I'll take it. If not, we'll call it a day. No more questions. All right, that's it. See you guys later.